You lot inside? Are you lot inside, I said? All right. My name is Chibs. We are inside. We are celebrating the Sneakers and Stuff X Adidas collaboration right here with these amazing sneaks on the feet right now. But we're here. This is SNS Forum, and we're here to talk. And the topic on day today is growing as a multifaceted creative. Where's Wayland Mackenzie right now? There's one person missing, but, you know, we're inside. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Everyone looking very beautiful today. Say, ow. Hey, good. We're already late, so I'm gonna try and get right into it. Innit? I would like everyone to introduce yourselves so that the people here know who you are. As a collective, as a family, we are ABOE. That stands for a bit of everything, and started off as a passion project many years ago, and has gone into like a creative collective / creative studio where we do a bit of everything. Yeah, you guessed it, right? And so we're here today to talk about, yes, growing as a multifaceted creative. I'm guessing that everyone's here because you are creative in some way, right? Yeah. You know, you see yourself as an artiste, and that's good. And I think it's good that you're here, and I want this to be an open conversation, not just a normal panel talk, where we can kind of like bounce ideas and chat and learn from each other as well. So yeah, my name is Chibs. I like to say I'm a creative director now. That's the title I'm rolling with now. But let me not overdo it. But yeah, everyone, you can go through and introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Waka, and I'm a photographer and film director.
Hi, I'm Bernice. I'm a photographer first, set designer. And yeah, I just like to make things as well. So that's that element.
You do a bit of everything.
I do a bit of everything.
Love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm Wayland. I'm an audio artist and creative producer. Man just makes bare things.
See that? And funny how everyone said, and I'm a this and that. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about multifacetedness, if that's even a word. I didn't print out my notes, so I'm looking at my phone. Apologies. So the first topic I want to get into is, how did you start?
So like in school, I always did all the art subjects. Like, you know, when you pick in secondary school, mine was media studies, fashion design, and fine art. So I was just always doing something different.
What made you choose those?
I was always interested in fashion, so everyone thought I was going to just do fashion design up until like I went to uni, and then I was like, this is not for me. And then with like fine art, I used to take pictures of things to paint and do things, and then that's how I started thinking more about photos, and then media as well. We used to talk about like TV, films, and like what these all mean, and you know, asking questions, which I kind of like to do. And then like when I went to college, I did photography because I was like, okay, like, yeah, I can do film now. And they got rid of the film lab, and I was like, okay, I'm not interested. I think I even flopped it because I was like not interested in it. It was just like, oh, you need to copy this photographer style, and you know, and I was like, that's not what I want to do. And I couldn't relate to it, but I continued doing media and fine art, and then I went on to do foundation.
Where did you do the foundation?
I did it at Ravensbourne, where we all met, actually, I think. Yeah, we all met there, actually, and I was doing fashion there, because I was like, okay, cool, let me just stick to this. I know how to sew. I've been teaching myself for years. I used to make, like, you know, things for, like, my dolls and, like, just random stuff like that, building little houses, just, like, things like that. And then I was just like studying, and I was like, you know what, this don't feel right. It was like boring me, and it was kind of taking me a bit backwards. They were like showing me things that I taught myself like 5 years ago. And I was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. And at the time, I was still doing my photography. And it was really picking up, and like, you know, people were like hiring me more, and I was like, you know, exploring different ideas. And I was like, you know what, I'm really liking this. And I was like, okay, let's just
took it and ran with
literally. And
it.
I was like, I'm dropping out uni. I think I did 1 year, and I was like, can I see myself doing this for another 2 years? I said no, and I said that's that. I literally said that's that, packed my bag, went home. And then, yeah, the rest was like kind of history. But it was like 2015 that I started my film archive, actually, Friends on Film. And it was literally just that, documenting my friends on film, because everyone was just doing things. And I was like, okay, this is like a moment we should be documenting. And essentially, my archive isn't just my archive. I feel like it's the archive of the people I shoot as well. Because look, I've got pictures of you from 2015, 16, 17, and it's like that growth. And yeah, it kind of tells my story as well, but also the people I meet and the moments. And I feel like there was a point where people just kind of stopped archiving a little bit, actually. And I feel like there's like a couple of years that I lost. You know, people were doing things and just like there's no documentation of it, whether it's not through photos, video, audio, whatever, I don't know. And I just like clocked that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do my thing. And
So would you say that's your main thing now, like archiving and documentation?
Yeah, archiving. Like, whether people pay me for it or not, I will always be interested into it, you know, and researching I think that's a big part
That's actually
of
one
it
of
as
the
well.
topics as well. We're going to get into that about
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the balance between like doing your thing and then also like providing a service as well, doing creative work to get paid for. But Waylon, what about you? What made you decide that creative route was for you?
Basically, I don't know. I've been writing as long as I remember. I used to write like comic books. I used to be good at drawing as well. So I used to draw comic books. I used to write like short stories, like everything. And then I also don't like being told what to do. So I was like, how can I get a job where people don't tell me what to do? And so I just kind of ended up doing what I do now. So I mostly, right now, my main kind of breadwinning is making podcasts and like radio documentaries for, I'm doing a series for BBC right now. I work at Somerset House. I'm making a 6-episode series for them. And similar to Bernice, it's all about archive for me. But for me, it's like archiving voices and experiences and histories through audio, because as African people, that's how we've always archived our history. So it only makes sense to use the tools that we have now to continue doing it.
It's funny that you both mentioned like archiving and documentation, because that's actually how ABOE started. It was literally just me documenting me and my friends and all the stuff that I was getting up to behind the scenes. It's all on YouTube. If you type in youtube.com/ABOE, you can see that. But Waka, what about you? What was your entry point and your route into like creativity?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that that's so interesting that ABOE started with archiving. You're talking about archiving you as well, but specifically with like physical things that we can like go back and see. Because I feel like what you said about things being lost. Like I remember like the time of me archiving my younger years was just like post it on Facebook, but then I don't like it, delete it off Facebook, but I don't have it anywhere else, and so now it's just gone. But the fact that you've got physical images from your film and you've got the film rolls and that you've got like sound that's like, it's like deleting is not enough. Like you always have another, so that's really important and really cool and something that I'll take away from this conversation. But what was the question? How did I start?
How did you get into it? Yeah.
I was always creative as well, actually. I was always making stuff, painting, drawing, making little sculptures out of paper and all that sort of stuff from when I was younger, and then to making my own clothes and stuff like that. But I think it sort of came from a place of like just trying to entertain myself. I didn't have a lot of entertainment, I guess, when I was like growing up. Didn't have like a TV or anything like that, so it was just like, and then it was like staying inside stuff. So it was just like, what's around me, like what can I make and stuff like that, if I'm not like fighting my brothers. So it's just that sort of stuff. Then when I got to like secondary school, I think it just sort of like continued. Also, I was terrible at English, terrible at maths, all that academic stuff. So I was almost like forced into like the, what can I just do that's around me? So it's more like sports and creativity, and that was sort of where I thrived. And then I think the first time I came across photography was photography GCSE in secondary school. And we sort of like was given cameras and we could like go around. It was all digital though, but we could like go around, take photos of like the environment and stuff. And I really, really liked that sort of stuff. Even though everybody on the course failed, like I think it was like, it was like, yeah, literally. I don't know, I just like had a really natural connection. I just really, really enjoyed it. So, but I didn't know as like photography as like a career. Like when I thought of photography, I thought of paparazzi, and that was it. But I never thought to myself, who takes the pictures that's on the billboards? Like who takes the album cover artwork? Who does that? Like that never crossed my mind. So I didn't really consider it as a career at that point. Then I got to Ravensbourne, did a fashion textiles foundation course, and then part of the fashion foundation course was fashion photography, and that was like my first time being introduced to like creating a concept for my artwork, because obviously in secondary school and all that and college it's always like I just copy this artist or like try and do what they did. So this is my first time like, let me tell my story. That was like super enlightening for me on so many levels. Like I was just like this photo series I've created feels like I have an attachment to it that feels deeper than just like, it's pretty. Like I actually feel like it's a reflection of me. And then that sort of began like a journey of self-reflection, which was really deep for me and is still like very heavily in like my photography now, which I think is why it has such a distinctive style. Like everyone always says, it's like you could see that it's yours when you see it, and I think it's because it's just like it's me, and like nobody else can be me, so obviously it's going to be distinctive. So
that's a really good point. I was going to get onto about your style, because you are actually you are my favorite photographer. I tell everyone.
Same.
I claim that I was one of the first people that you shot. I think I was the first. I tell people that you're the first.
Yeah. I still got those pictures.
So when did you realize like what your style kind of was and like your distinctive style and like what was you working on when you like figured it out?
So yeah, I had to sort of like style. We had to find a model, style them, and then like find the location. Just find the whole concept and sort of like give the reason behind like like the meanings behind things and whatnot. And I just sort of at the time was just like, I have no idea what it's gonna mean, but I like this, I like that, I like this, so I'm just gonna put it together and shoot it. And I did that, and then I thought I'll figure out what the concept is afterwards because it's all just chatting rubbish anyway. Like when it comes to these concepts for art projects. So I just did that, and I think, but in the process of like pulling things together, obviously I was thinking, oh, this has to mean something, blah, blah, blah. So I was just like, feminism was like a buzzword at the time, so I was just like, maybe I'll just base it off of that, even though I didn't feel like I really connected to that too much at the time either. But in the process of it, I felt like the imagery that I was creating felt very light, felt very free, felt very lonely in a way, but very positive. Like all the images, the model looks very isolated, very like in a broad space, like the sky is the backdrop, and it just feels all very relevant to me. And I felt like, actually, this is my interpretation of feminism. Like I see it as like, I'm sort of like alone in this, and like, but at the same time, I feel empowered to be who I am, and I feel free in the loneliness of it. So then I came across that concept, and I was just like, oh, this is really interesting that I've just sort of discovered my interpretation of feminism through doing the imagery first rather than thinking of the concept first. So that was it. And then from there, I just kept shooting more stuff, just sort of like finding out what do I gravitate towards, how am I feeling today, and how can this image reflect how I'm feeling, and then find out what the meaning of that is afterwards. And at that point, I didn't even realize that my imagery was like quite colorful and quite free and quite joyful. Until somebody actually told me, it was one of the models came up to me and was like, why is your work so colorful? And I was like, is it? And I had a look on my Instagram, and I was just like, oh wow, like this is very vibrant. I was like, okay, no, that's cool. Like I'll continue running with it as long as it feels right. And if one day I turn around, I'm like, I want to shoot everything in black and white, so be it. I will do it. I don't really mind. It's just about what feels right.
That would be sick to see, you know. You might have to do your next shoot in black and white. I want to ask the same question to Wayland, but I'm going to ask it in two parts, yeah. So the first part, because I noticed you didn't mention like actually like being a rapper and making music. So I'll ask you where the same question, which was how did you find your style in making music, and how did you find your style in like audio productions? And
sure, mad. I was even going to answer it in two parts anyway. We're just so as a musician, I feel like I found my style. What year did we make? We made Northeast in 2017, just 2018. I feel like that's when I found out I was probably the most creatively free as a musician when making that. Asia's here somewhere. Asia Chibs, the executive produced it. Jeez. And they just they just gave me the structure to do my thing, really. Even as a writer, there's a very specific way that I speak on that project, which is like very much colloquially from the area that I live in. And it was just me experimenting. Like, I don't feel like there's 7 songs? None of the songs sound similar at all. There's all different types of production styles. There's house music on there. There's like, there's boom bap. There's like, is everything. It's just it's
a bit of everything.
Come on, I was waiting for you. So yeah, that's, I would say 2017, 2018 for me as a musician, and then as an audio producer, I would say, Ruben, when did we make the Green Room Press? 2018. Nah, impossible. Started in 18, finished in 19. Mad. So we made a series for Transmission Roundhouse called the Green Room Press, which was what is it? So what did we? Yeah, we said I just have ideas, and then I need to find words to try and make them fit the idea so people understand that I'm not just mad. So it was like an audio editorial newspaper. So every episode was supposed to be like a different page in the newspaper. And the first episode is called In the Room with Leanne LaHavis, and it was the first time I felt like I could just do anything. I had the fundamental skills because I had been making music. So I make all of the audio stuff that I do on Logic. So I had all of the fundamental skills to kind of do anything I wanted to do. And I was like, what do I want to do? So I had I wrote a bunch of questions. I made this format. It was called In the Room. I just asked Leanne Lahavis like 20 questions to kind of describe her perfect room, and along the way you discover more about her. So it was like, do you want wood floor or marble floor? She's like, wood floor. And then throughout the episode, you hear people walking. I'd like sound design it, so there's someone walking across and it's panning. There's like 3 pictures in the room. Who are they? So now she's telling me about the pictures. There's a picture of Prince. Hi, Jamal. There's a picture of Prince. Why is there a picture of Prince? Now she's telling me a story that Prince was her brethren. He came to her yard and he wrote her this beautiful handwritten note. So it's like, what is the different ways in which we can tell stories? And I feel like with that series, it's like 6-7 episodes. It was I just got in my zone, and there's some really incredible episodes. Mostly my favorite ones are the ones that Ruben wrote, actually, because he's like the smartest person I know, and he's like a better writer than me, which pisses me off because I write for a living. Jeez. And he just wakes up and does it. It's annoying. And so it was like working with him, I was able to kind of guide the direction of different stories. Like there's a whole 20-minute episode about situationships, and then we talk to division at the end, and then there's another one called...
Was I in one of them? R&B Chibs?
I think you're in that one.
I remember, was I speaking to Ruben in your room?
Yeah, something like, bro, we just be making stuff. It's gang, innit?
So I want to open the floor. If anyone has any questions, take like 2, and we'll keep it stepping. Don't be shy now. We're family here. You can even come close if you're feeling the vibes. But yeah, if you have any questions, please don't be shy. Okay. You got a question? What's your question, bro? So how do you go into something if you don't feel like it's for you? But I would say, okay, no, I wouldn't say don't do it. But no, if you want to do it, then find that thing that you're in it for. So, for example, before I was like making any money from like doing creative stuff, I would obviously have to get a retail job at like 17 at the time or whatever. But in there, I was like, I need this job to get P's. Fuck it, let me just focus and get P's. But also I use this opportunity to boost my like communication skills and talking to people and my confidence and stuff like that. And I feel like there's always what's that saying? In every grey cloud, there's a silver lining. So I feel like in any situation, you kind of look for the positive, whether it's like what you imagined you'll be going into it for, or you just find that thing and just kind of stay focused on that thing that you want to get out of it. Because in this life, there's bare times where you have to do things that you don't want to do to be able to do the thing that you do want to do. Like, for example, even when you're learning a new skill, you got to do free work to then show what you're capable of, to then get the paid work. Yeah. Otherwise, man can't just pick up a camera and say I'm a photographer and expect to get bookings. Like, it doesn't work like that. It does for some people, but in theory, it doesn't really work like that, innit? So
no comment.
Does anyone else have a question? You know what? I would tell the origin story, but I would, you know what I would do? I'll say, type in youtube.com/ABOE and watch episode 1, because I literally explain why I started it. Like and subscribe. I literally explained, but it was, okay, I would say it was a side project because I was going into uni. I was studying editing and post-production at Ravensbourne, and I knew that I didn't want to rely on uni to, like, pattern my life. So I came up with the idea to like, put all the stuff I was doing outside of uni in terms of, like, at the time I was filming a lot of shows. I was filming a lot of, I was running on shoots. So I was taking my camera with me, film behind the scenes. I was the guy with the camera back then. I stopped doing that now. But and then I was like, fuck it, I want to do something that I can be proud of for myself. So I put them into like mini episodes, and then through that it was a way for me to network with like artists that I was interested in at the time. And this is 2015 time, so it was like, how many years ago? It's like 7 years ago. It was end of 2014. Yeah, from that it grew, and then after a year of doing like the little documentary episodes, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna put a space on to get all these artists I'm interested in the same room. And we did an exhibition where we had artwork and we had live performances, which at the time was very rare because that's a normal thing now. It was supposed to be a 1-year project. So because of the name, I was like 1 month in, I was like, oh my days, like, this can go anywhere because it's a bit of everything. I could literally do anything with it. And that's kind of the mindset I've kept going forward. And now here we are talking in sneakers and stuff, promoting Crep because we're lit. I'm going to move on to stage 2 of the talk now, which is about being multifaceted. I want to know what you think of the battle between creativity as a job versus as a hobby. I'm going to start with Bernice. You haven't spoken in a while. What do you think?
I feel like I'm going back to finding my hobbies again now, because photography was my hobby, and then it really, at the time, it just really kind of exploded and became like quite like a kind of was thrown into like the job part of it. And I don't know, when I would like bond with other photographers, I would ask them a lot of questions, like, okay, how do I go about this? How to go about that? And no one knew anything. It's like kind of like they're learning as you go and you share. I'm like big on connection, big on like just talking to people and asking questions, because why should I suffer and then everyone else suffer? You know what I mean? Like, literally, if you don't ask, you don't have the answer. Yeah, I think for like a couple of years, I was like, oh, okay, like this job is it was not becoming fun anymore. And it was because like people were just like determining a lot of things for me, and just the whole point of me being freelance as well is because I also don't like being told what to do. Like, especially if it's like my work and you've like hired me for my style, my vision, like, let me do that freely. But yeah, I feel like it's important to have things just for yourself. Like, you know, even though I do photography, I like to make like little books and just like little random things like that with the photography. I've started to get into like collaging, so it's like still making like the photography aspect fun for me, or also just like saying those things that don't align. I feel like when I was first starting out, I was a yes man and kind of like, oh, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this job, and it's like you're doing all these jobs, and even in your heart, you know, oh, I don't actually want to do this.
But do you see that what you just said there? Yeah, when you're saying yes to everything. That's kind of advice I always give people when they're starting out. So do you see the value in being a yes man or woman at a certain stage?
Yeah, because through that I was like, actually, I know what I like and I know what I don't like, and then I just started to gain more confidence and was like, people would ask me to do things, I'd be like, no, this is not for me, it doesn't align, and I would pass it on to people who it did align. I just had like a list of like photographers that some I didn't know at the time that I would just put forward for things and be like, oh, this fits more their style, or especially if people would hit me up for things, I'd be like, oh, this is like, especially when I was making more money and like I had the experience, especially I was like, look, like this is something I can do, but not for that fee. And then I was like, if you're gonna approach people in my network, I'm gonna need you to up the fee as well, especially if you're gonna like approach them and be like, Bernice said you can.
Love that. Write it
I was
now.
like, why no, you know, and that's what it takes, honestly. Sometimes just like people communicating. I feel like sometimes there's a lack of that in like the freelance community, and that's why sometimes people take like the less paying jobs, even though you can literally demand for more. Like, we're not on a salary, you get me? Like, we're relying on this, and you know your worth. But yeah, definitely at the beginning, I was like, it helped a little bit, but yeah.
Question, sorry.
Go.
Have you ever, this is for you two, I'm not even sure. Have you always been freelance, or have you ever worked like a job part-time or full-time in like the creative world?
Nah, I've always been freelance in the creative world, you know, actually. I was working like non-creative things, but honestly, before I started at Ravensbourne, I was working at some retail shop.
Which one?
River Island, don't care.
Whoa.
Yeah, River Island, and they were like, it's either uni or this job. I said, okay, I just started. I'm definitely going to put uni in it. Ravensbourne, and then they were like, okay, you need to come in to hand in your thingy. Got on the bus, wrote it on a napkin, handed in, left my locker. I said, bye, was that.
That's a lit story, you know.
But then when I was at Ravensbourne, like, I wasn't studying photography in it. I was doing fashion design. It's not cheap. I didn't get no bursary, no nothing. Parents weren't really on that. Artists, like, never. So I was like, okay, cool. Need to, like, photography was my side thing at that point. So I was like, I need to make money so I can buy myself film and explore and play. I was buying so much film, literally me, snap.
That was £1 film times, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a good time
Good
as well,
times.
but it's not £1 to develop though. And cameras be dying as well as film, you know, so all that stuff. Then I started working at O2, terrible, but I used to just work a couple shifts, figure out the money, phosphor it, and I'd be like, okay, cool. And then after a while, I was like, I don't want to do this. And I was like, just really committed to the photography
a lot of
thing.
budgeting, isn't it?
Yeah, but it makes it work. Like, I know where I could cut back on and stuff like that, but yeah, I've always been freelancing my creative.
What about you,
aspect.
Waka? I actually don't know.
I've never been employed in my life. Well, I mean, I tried, but I never got the job. Like, but yeah, no, so freelance forever.
Wayland? No.
What's the question? What was the original question? That was the first question.
The original question was the battle, the struggle between creativity for a job versus as a hobby.
Man, you just need to figure out what you're willing to sell. As a creator of things, you kind of need to work out like what is. I think somebody said, I don't remember who, like your worth and your power and what you price things at. And for me, I don't. As a laborer, I don't fuck with the price in which musical shares are sold at. So I don't like that. It's too much work for too little pay. But where I am willing to sell is podcasts and radio documentaries and all of that, because it's less personal to me than a song that I wrote in my room. Yeah, I literally only. How many songs have I sent you, man, this year? Maybe like 5.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
like
mean,
5 songs.
you voice note a lot of stuff.
And then I just don't record it because I'm a joke, man.
So when are you gonna release a new tune, Wayland?
Well, you're trying to make me do one next year, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm just not really in a rush. I have a larger plan with my music, and how to use it as an addendum to the other arts in which I do because I am
Sorry.
multi-faceted.
What does addendum mean?
Ruben, define addendum for me.
No, why are you putting him on the spot? You said
He's
it.
smart. He's
No, but
smarter
you said
than
it.
me.
What does it mean?
It's like an add-on. Yeah. It's an add-on to
addendum.
yeah, addendum. So so like it's the kind of things that we've been talking about. Like I'm really interested in getting into like sound installations now. So what role does my music play in a possible world where I'm making sound installations? And I also do sound design for like I've sound designed 2 films in the last like year and a bit. And I was like, that's not something I ever thought I'd be able to do. So it's like now I'm willing to sell that labor. I produce, right now I'm doing one series for BBC 5 Live. And I wouldn't usually do it, but it was something kind of interesting, and I got to produce an interview with JME. So it was like, I'm willing to sell my labor for that. And luckily, the price is quite high. I don't leave my bed for foolish prices anymore. That's just not what I'm willing to do because I feel like I've put in the work, and apparently my invoices agree with me. So
sorry.
yeah, you just got to figure out what you're willing to sell and what you're not willing to sell, and don't compromise on that. You like pick your price, and if it ever gets more expensive than that price, then walk out.
You should clap for that answer.
You don't have to.
No, it was a good answer.
That was a good answer.
I think you perfectly explained like the different, like what makes something a hobby and what makes it like work. And for someone starting out, that's a good kind of thing to hear because they might get the two mixed up.
Wait, can I ask? So when did you decide that making music, because obviously you released the whole project and everything, like when did you decide that wasn't what you was going to continue to do like immediately, if that makes sense?
I don't know, Chibs, do you remember? Was there like a time because it was either you or Ruben who I was speaking to the most about it?
If I harken back.
Harken? Well, what's harken mean? Man, I'm using big words.
Samsung.
Basically, me and Chibs.
That changed everything.
Yeah, it did. We made a ridiculous amount of money for sending 15-second songs to Samsung for like adverts through this agency. And from there, I was just like, rah, so why am I going to put a song on Spotify for 0.0000001 per stream? And
You can sell 15 seconds
when I can sell 15 seconds and eat for the whole entire year. So I was just like, this doesn't really make sense for me.
How many did we do? It was like 2 or 3, innit?
Yeah, we did 3 in like 3 months.
Yeah.
And I've been living off that money for the last 2 years. So I was just like, something just doesn't make
that
sense.
much, Wayland.
I budget very well.
You just don't spend money.
Exactly. That's how you stay
No,
rich.
but you know what? The thing about that project was good because it was a challenge, and it was like at the time I was just making music for fun. I mean, I still make music for fun. Music's the one like creative endeavor that I'm like very like I only want to make music for fun because as soon as it becomes a job, I'm just not on it. Like people hit me up for studio, and I'm like, yeah, we'll do studio and that. But then I'm just like, oh, you can't be bothered. But like, I enjoy making it with myself. But that project was like, they sent us like a stems of like Samsung like sounds.
And the videos, and it was actually so like I feel like that
ringtones.
was one of the most fun I've had creating with you specifically. And I just sending over foolishness.
What did I do? I was basically sampling there's like stock sounds. It was very strange.
So like all of the sounds in the Samsung phone, they sent over and it was like make a beat and include these sounds. And then Chiz would make the beat. I'd be like, maybe add this. Like, and then
they didn't even say it was genre. It was just like make a beat.
There was no genre. It was just like cool. And now I have to write a verse to this, and it's just like, all right, cool, that's lit. Yeah. So it felt like fun coursework.
That is the perfect
that you get paid for.
Yeah, that was lit. Yeah. How do you balance? In fact, can you ask me this question? How do you balance? Working between different mediums.
How do you balance working between different mediums, Chips?
It's so difficult. To tell you why, yeah. Because sometimes when you're in the zone, so I take breaks. Oh, not breaks, but like I delve into like one thing at a time. So like there's moments where like I'm working on, let's say, 2 videos at a time, and for those like that month or 2, I'm fully on the videos. But then I want to make a beat in it because I still love music. So really, wait, what's the question? I don't. You know, it is. It's hard. It's hard. My answer is it's hard to balance doing a bit of everything because it takes like different things take different like energies out of you. Like working on shoots a lot. If I'm working on sets a lot for like a week, I'll be too tired to make music when I go home, or I'll be too tired to like come up with an idea for something and this and that, or do art direction or whatever. The balance is that I live it. Like I live creativity in everything I do. So I could be here, I could see a hat I like that hat there. Looks like Mickey Mouse ears, this little purple one here. I would take a picture of that and save it. So like I never really switch off. And like because of that, it helps me like, if I hear a song, I Shazam it. And I go home and I'll be like, oh shit, let me put this in my DJ, what do you call them? Crate or whatever. You kind of got to live it and be it all the time. You don't really switch off, and it's not really about like, today I'm going to do this and today I want to do that. It's kind of like, I want to be a vessel for creativity at all times. Do I feel like it gets tiring to be creatively switched on all the time? Yes. But at the same time, no, because like creativity, like when you deep it, yeah, everything around us, everything around us was created, whether it is an organic living being like me and you, or whether it's this, someone created it. So how can you switch off if it's always around you? Do you get it? Like, if I go home and use a toaster, someone designed that toaster, bruv. Like, do you get it? And then it pops up, and it's like, oh shit, the toast popped up. If you sit back and be like, oh, that just happened, it's mad. But then more time, you're not gonna, like, not say that you're switched off, but you kind of just get used to it because it's everywhere. It's like, you know, like a baby, like everything's really like vivid for babies. That's why they're always moaning and crying and that, because everything's new to them. But as you get older, you just, oh, it's just a toaster, innit? Like, do you get what I'm saying? I think at times you have to kind of like sit back and just like appreciate the smaller things that don't mean much, and I feel like that makes it easier. Like, and you just look at the sky, like the sky's always there, but if I actually sit and look at the sky, it's like, oh shit, the sky's beautiful, that's lit, and it can inspire you to do something. It could talk to you in a certain way. Do you know what I mean? I hope that answers your question.
I feel like that's also like relevant to you, like just as a creative, like the reason you're creative is because your interests are in the finer details. So I feel like it's just natural for you rather than it being like I'm switching on. It's just you. It's just how your mind operates.
Thank you, man.
And so let me just add on to that. I think it only really feels draining when you're thinking of creating to output instead of just creating to create. Because a lot of the times, especially as a musician, you're creating, it's like, oh yeah, I got to put this song out. Then as you're making the song, you're thinking about the music video and you're thinking about where you're going to put the song and all of that. That's just long. If you just create something, like I was saying, this year, I've mostly just created songs for the group chat and the mandem. And that's literally all I think about. And then eventually it will probably go somewhere. But I made it with just the intention of, nah, this is sick. Let me send it to Chibs and Ruben and see what the mandem are saying, or my brothers. It's like, cool. So then that way it doesn't really take anything because you're not.
Can I add on to that as well?
Go on.
You don't have to be passionate about everything. Woo. Like, for example, I used to use cameras a lot, but I wasn't really passionate about cameras. I needed cameras to get footage to edit because I was passionate about editing. But people are long. I didn't want to wait for anyone to film shit for me. So also, like, know what it is that you're passionate about and just double down on that. Like, the whole thing about being multifaceted is not a be-all and end-all. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to do everything. That's why it's a bit of everything, because it's not like you have to do a lot of everything. Just a little bit, you know what I mean? Just the parts that you like. And then also you find people and you mesh with people that are passionate about those other things, and then that's how you build a team, and then that's how you grow. That's a whole different conversation. But like find your thing that you are into as well, and just like live with that in it. How do you deal with being multifaceted and not getting overwhelmed with everything?
Yeah, I get overwhelmed, but I take pauses. Like, I would say before COVID, I was on a pause. Like, I was slowly being like, nah, I'm deteriorating. This is not good. Like, overthinking, you know. I was like, kind of not really believing myself. I was like, what am I doing this for? Like, you know, I was really doing that. And I was like, you know what? I need a pause. And I took a pause. And it was only meant to be a couple of months. but it was like more than a year. And I felt good when I came back, and I can't lie, I feel like I have really good support in terms of friends and also like people who support my work. That my housemate actually said a comment like to me the other day. They were like, "Oh, like you could leave for 10 years and come back and people would just, you know." And I was like, that was like really kind of assuring. But yeah, I'm really big on like taking times to rest and pause. I know we were talking before about like, oh, it's switched on and stuff. And it's like, even on my resting days, like I do different things. So I like to watch films. Yeah, it's a creative thing, but I like to watch horror films, you know, all these things. So it's like all these different things, but also like retreats, and I'm just like into wellness and like getting more into that. I'm really big, and I feel like as creatives, we don't get, especially creatives who are freelancers, we don't get like, it's hard to like create that structure. I think for the early years, I was finding it really hard to like, to take pauses because I'm like, oh, if I miss this job, you know, and also we don't have like the 9 to 5 and then like, you know, the Christmas break, the Easters, the It's like always working, you know, when you work. So yeah, I feel like there should be more things for like creatives and freelancers as well to like tap into their wellness. So like retreats, you know, just like creative, relaxing retreats, all these kind of
also,
things.
just know when to tap out and just chill out. Like,
Yeah.
I think you're even reminding me that happens to me a lot. I do get overwhelmed, so I don't know if I deal with it well, innit? Because I'm always like doing something, I'm always on the go. If I show you like my calendar, yeah, it's crazy.
Waka, you're on a pause right now. Could you tell us how, how that's going for you?
Oh, yeah.
This is rare insight.
Well, actually, before my pause, every Sunday, everyone knows I'm not about, like, I'm not going to the cinema, I'm not going to the shops, nothing, go to church, go home, like, chilling, like, that's it. Yeah, so basically, I've been working intensely for, like, 2 years straight with not really a holiday or anything. Well, maybe 6 years straight, I don't know. But I've just basically been working, and it's fun. And I think when you asked that question, I was sort of like, I just keep going. Like, I just do. Like, as I'm overwhelmed, I'm like, right, that's another thing to do. Let me just do it. Like, I'm just moving. And I think the only reason I'm able to do that is because at the end of, like, on my Sundays, like, crash, like, and then chill. And then I'm rejuvenated for the rest of the week. But then I sort of got to a point where I felt like working on so many client jobs, because that's pretty much what I've been doing for two years straight. Just client jobs, no personal projects or anything. I was beginning to feel burnt out. Like, people would tell me, oh, your work looks so amazing. Oh, it's the best stuff you've ever done. I'm looking at it and thinking it looks rubbish. Like, I think it's like, I just see all the things that I'm missing from it. I see all the ways that I've evolved as an artist and how they are not reflected in the pieces that I'm creating anymore. And it was just like quite, like, just wasn't happy with anything I was doing anymore. So I think I was just like, you know what, I just need to stop. Like, 2 months, I'm going to just not take any client work for like 2 months straight and just like work on a personal project. And I had ideas like over the 2 years just sort of like building up, and I was like, I want to make a script for a short film and I want to work on a photo series. So that's what I've been doing basically all of November, and this month I'm still working on it. And in November I'll probably get back into work again, but slowly. And I told my agents, like, 1 job a month, like no more than that, because I just really want to work on this like short film and this photo series, one for my own personal creative soul and also for the world. Like, I want people to see like how I've evolved as a creative artist. I like to see the responses and how people engage with it and stuff. That's another thing that I really enjoy about creating and putting things out there. So I miss that experience as well, like putting it out, like something that's actually important to me personally, and putting that out and seeing how that is received or not received or whatever. Like,
We're on to stage 3 now, and I know we don't have much time left, but I want to talk about looking forward. So, as a multifaceted creative, what new skills are you looking to pick up next year? Or in general? Next year, actually. Do next year first.
I feel like I've already kind of started, actually. So I started working on a card game this year with my brother, and he's an entrepreneur and businessman, so it's like interesting working with someone from a different field and like how their mind works. But yeah, it's been really fun and a new experience, and I feel like I've kind of always had that within me. So yeah, like making a card game, never made one before, and from playing card games, I know what I like and what I don't like, and I know how I want it to look. And because I've built a network, I have designers and people I can, you know, who can do the thing in like quick. So that's something new I'm venturing into, and making retreats as well. So that's like it's kind of producing in another kind of aspect. I want to make different kinds of retreats, and yeah, I'm excited about that.
What are you saying, Waylon? What new 2 new skills?
Recently, I've been doing a lot of script writing for the jobs that I've been doing. Like right now, I'm doing. I didn't sign an NDA. Right now, I'm doing an episode. NDA is crazy. Right now, I'm doing an episode for a Spotify series called Decode, and it's about like breaking down songs on an album. and I'm like having to structure a wild, long 45-minute essay, and it's just like I never thought I would have to do that. But like I said, it all kind of started with me from writing, so it's getting back into that. So script writing for sure, and probably directing. I got a few things that I need to do if I'm really gonna get into my sound installation bag, and audiobook producing. I'm starting that next year as well. Trust.
Red card did 3. Waka, 2 things you want to pick up in the new year.
I want to get better at rock climbing and hopefully maybe
Swimming.
maybe.
Active.
Can you swim?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I can't.
You can't?
No.
You have to go with Waka.
It's Aisha. Can't swim. That teacher you swim one time was peak, man. I was drowning, bro. It was crazy. 2 new skills I want to pick up. I've been wearing a lot of hats recently, and I want to start crocheting my own hats, my own like bucket hats and that, instead of paying people and just doing my own time. I also want to.
Can I have one?
Of course. If you want one, anyone, put your orders in now. Any color, just let me know. Put your email. And I also want to. I had it in my head. I forgot. I want to learn VJing, which is the art of like. It's like DJing, but like DJing visuals. I got a fucking sick idea, yeah. For my first, like, I want to do a headline show in it. I got a sick idea in it. You lot, 2 years' time, watch. I'm going to mash work next year. But, yeah, VJing and crocheting hats. That's my 2 things. 2022, what is one thing that you want people to look out for?
My first solo exhibition, January.
There you go, January 20th.
January 20th, yes. And it's open for 3 months.
I've
It's
been
at Home
asking.
Space.
I've been asking Bernice for this solo Friends on Film show. It's not even Friends on Film, is it?
It's going to include it, but it's not even that.
I've been asking since like 2017.
But it's so funny because, like, how was I just meant to whip one out my arse, you know? Anyways, I'm kind of happy it's coming now because it's aligning with, like, a really, really important space. And, yeah, man, it feels good to be seen. And I feel like I've got a good response from the flyer. And,
Love that.
yeah, I'm excited for it. And lots of people are excited for it. Like, people come up to me on the street like, oh, like...
She's famous.
You know,
On the street.
Can you order
Can't
streets
even go
on
to
lock?
Tesco.
Jeez.
what can I say?
What about you? What about you? What are you saying? With anything? It's alright if not. You don't have to force it.
I don't just man's mashing work in it, so I'm just active. The whole of next year is just gonna be
Come on.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in my thriller era. Like I'm founding
Thriller?
thriller.
Really?
Bro, do you know how much it sold? Crazy, like triple diamond 25 times, crazy. Nah, I've been mashing bare work this year, and so next year I'm kind of trying to ball off, but a lot of the fruits from this year you'll see next year. So yeah, man's
Love
active. Just keep your eyes open and them thing there.
Keep your eyes peeled. What are you saying, Waka?
Well, if all goes to plan, then hopefully I'll have a short film next year and also a new photo series, which I would love to have in an exhibition. So, yeah, maybe mid next year exhibition.
Love that. I ain't got anything planned. Don't look at me. Final question. Answer it in literally 1 sentence, maximum 15 words. I'm going to be counting. What does being creative mean to you? 10 words.
Just using the power that God gave you, innit?
Love that. Amen. You know, he actually won. Shit. 10 points, bro. 10 points. 2 questions before we bounce, brother.
What is it that each of you could take from your life or death, Virgil?
Jesus. You know what? R.I.P. Virgil for real, though. You know what it is, yeah? I feel like I didn't take in enough of his work whilst he was still here.
Same.
I was literally... I followed him on Insta like 2 months ago, and that's when I understood his thing. I finally got it. And it's actually very upsetting to see him go at a time where, like, I could tell, like, he was about to go to that next step and really continue to change things. But he just, like, simplified what design is and kind of, like, gave it back to the people and said, you know what, everyone is a designer in their own way, and made it more accessible. That's what I take from it. It's all right if you don't.
Yeah, I didn't really take him in at all.
I
But
didn't. Like, I was, like, kind of a hater at first. And then I was like, all right,
Same.
cool.
I
'Cause
never
did
stopped the hate.
fashion.
I never stopped the hate.
No, I did fashion, and I think it's good to criticize or like.
Facts, though.
Like one thing I did like about him was that even if people were like giving constructive criticism, he took it on board. Like, I know people was like, okay, like you need to be putting more black young people in designers. He was like, yeah, cool, and he actually did that, and I was like, okay, I like that, and I do like how he did make things more accessible. That's something I'm big on as well. Like, if I'm in a room or in a space, I'm always thinking about who's not here or who's not a part of the conversation, you know. I feel like a lot of the time people talk about young creatives, and I'm like, there's people who have been doing this, like, especially in like my field, people who have been archiving. I'm like always thinking about them, trying to see how I can connect or bring them into conversation. And yeah, even the younger generation, because there'll be points, you know, when they'll be running things soon. So,
That's true.
Yeah.
Waka, anything to add?
So many things, actually, but I'll try not to say so many things. So firstly, I think it was interesting because I used to see a lot of people like criticize him, maybe like in the middle, like, because obviously there was a bit where he wasn't as famous, where he had like Pyrex and all that sort of stuff. That bit was like all lit, like everyone loved him, and then he sort of got to a point where it's like he was beginning to sort of like climb the ladder a bit, and then like you see pictures of him, like I think there was like this one that went viral of him in a room full of white people, and he was saying that this is like my team and whatnot, and there wasn't one black person other than him. But I remember looking at stuff like that and thinking, but still deep where he is, and like sometimes you need to be that person that does that so that you can get into the space, because they're not going to let you into the space unless you do that. And then he got into the space, and then, as you said, when he finally got above that space, he then let everybody sort of in and heard the criticism and sort of took it on. So I found that really interesting. Not saying that I want to go into spaces and just be surrounded by white people, but I mean, like, I think it's interesting to sort of like open my mind to that, like, kind of like what Waylon was saying earlier, like, what are you willing to sort of like, I don't know, like be paid for, and what kind of spaces are you willing, and like what is the bigger picture for all of that sort of thing. So like if it does mean that I have to be in a space that I'm not so comfortable within for a certain time to open a certain door, then is that something I would consider? Whereas before I'd be like, no. But now I'm sort of a little bit more thinking about the bigger picture in order to get, you know, what am I willing to do now for the bigger picture? Still probably wouldn't do that, but like I think it's just interesting to sort of like have that sort of perspective. Also, I would say the key thing is that like how simple his brand was. Like I think the simplicity of it made it feel so accessible for like other designers or other people who didn't even consider to be designers to then consider to be designers, because it's like, okay, I can't afford to get a crazy range of materials or like to do the most intricate designs and prints and whatnot. But he did a very simple print and a very simple designs and very simple shapes, and just sort of elevated them in unique, simple ways, and then did it. And I think that sort of like opened them eyes to like a lot of other people, especially like in minority groups, that like, okay, I might not have the most, but I can get something, and I can do something with that, and then sort of like grow and sort of like take further steps. So, and on top of that, it was all about sort of like the culture and the movement around it as well, which I think is also really interesting, because as I said earlier, like the one thing that will make us stand out from anything else like in the world is just our individuality, and nobody can take that from us. So if we can sort of like work on looking at our own individuality and like putting that into what we do, and sort of like love the simplicity of like the details that come into that, and play around with that before we get onto the big budgets and the big stuff, then we will naturally gravitate that sort of like that right community that's right for us, and like and it's more healthy and like more authentic in that way. And I think people gravitate to authenticity, which is why his communities were able to grow around him.
That was an amazing, elaborate answer. And
Guys,
also, thank you for the question. That question as well, very important.
I was just going to say, Naka doesn't talk much, so this is like
This
quite
is amazing.
nice.
We'll talk in person as well. This is very rare, you know, rare Pokemon right now. The floor is now closed. We are reaching the end of the talk. I want to say thank you, everyone, for coming. I hope that you take away something from today. I know it might have seemed very unstructured because I didn't plan much. I just had questions. I like the organic conversations and back and forth. Can you give a round of applause for yourselves and for us here? My panel. You ain't got to care for me, it's all right. You know, just doing the Lord's work, you know what I'm saying? Follow ABOE Worldwide on everything. Sign up to our mailing list so you don't miss out on anything. I want to see everyone here. There's so many people that I haven't met before. I want to talk to you lot, and hopefully you stay in touch and you stick with us. You ride with us on this journey, and you make us a part of your journey as well. And we fucking do. With Virgil being the last point, we carry on breaking down barriers the same way he tried to in all our respective fields, doing a bit of everything. Get me? Andrew, run some tunes. Big up with the man them. Love.